Okay, we should have some of the finance people in here with us today as well, the Business Management 320 side of things. I don't know if you've taken a look at that chart. I don't know how many of you have actually played this social media game in terms of attempting to get your employment, get your job, do the things. But that's what we're about. I'm going to introduce myself to you. I work in the Business Career Center. I've been doing this job as the Director of Information Systems Placement for about 7 years. Prior to that, I was in the military. I'm a retired Lieutenant Colonel, U.S. Army, active duty full-time. And just prior to coming into this role in the Business Career Center, I was the Professor of Military Science here on campus and ran the Army ROTC program. And the different things that go on in life, I was also a student ward bishop, singles ward. This was the building and one of the places that we met for meetings. But I want you to take a look. Again, that's the profile. You'll see this again. But we're going to talk directly about your LinkedIn today. And I'm going to ask you this question. You don't have to respond with your hands up or anything like that, but how many of you actually prayed when you turned in your application to become part of the Marriott School? Okay. You actually prayed about becoming part of the Marriott School. That sort of thing. How many of you actually prayed after you received your acceptance into the Marriott School and said thank you? All right. How many of you are still praying about midterms? Everybody. All right. The important part about the presentation today is about your brand and who you are and what you represent now as part of the Marriott School. We'll see how we run. Why are we going to just talk about LinkedIn? And I guess I'm going to have to not wander. I don't know. There's your answer right now. We have more employers and more recruiters and more individuals that are going to LinkedIn to find talent. And are they finding it out of the colleges and the universities? And the answer is yes. More and more of the recruiters are turning to LinkedIn. I don't know how many of you attended the career fair or were asked by employers, do you have a LinkedIn profile, or will you link with me on LinkedIn, or will you do all those other sorts of things? It's there, and it's moving in this direction. Why are we not speaking about Facebook and Twitter? You can see the numbers and the reasons why. This might be a little bit hard for you to read, but 150 million plus, and they're going closer to 200 million now on LinkedIn. And this just shows you the different demographics across all the different countries and where they're going. Okay, so the question to ask you, how many of you already have your LinkedIn profile? Okay, how many of you have done anything with your LinkedIn profile since you put it up? Okay, about half of the people who say they have a profile and that sort of thing. How many of you have been contacted by an employer because of your LinkedIn profile? Okay, and that's about right as well. We're seeing more and more of it happen, but the numbers get fewer as to those who've put on a profile and then they're getting some kind of contact. LinkedIn itself talks about active users and passive users. And they say that the majority of those people who are on LinkedIn are passive users, meaning you're not actively looking for a job. You're not trying to do other things with it. But that is the audience that the recruiters go after. The active users are going after the recruiters or going after the employers, using LinkedIn, making those connections, and doing the things that they need to do. But the passive users is the untapped and the unknown market, and that's what they are doing, is they're taking a look at your profiles and seeing where you are. How many of you believe that your profile is a superstar profile? No one's going to take a stab at that. Okay. Your brand now is forever linked to the Marriott School. And you may say, no, it's not. I am never going to have it linked to the Marriott School. You prayed to get into the school. You were happy to be here, and you're a part of it. The dean was here early the first week. I think many of you met him. And he talked about being a difference maker, talked about making a difference. That's the brand and image that he wants the Marriott School to portray. You're the ones that are going to carry that forward because this is the first year and the first opportunity to take that tagline, making a difference, and have it matter. You have to represent the Marriott School well, and we're concerned about your LinkedIn profiles and your presence. So the title of this presentation is How to Make Yourself Attractive on LinkedIn. But I want you to always remember that it's associated with you being a part of the Marriott School. Your profile says who you are. These are the three things that employers need to know or understand about you. 80% of those recruiters who are going on are looking in social media, and they're looking for those three reasons. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. How many of you have Googled yourself? Oh, wait a minute. Put your hands back up. How many of you have Googled yourself? All right, that's less than the people who have a LinkedIn profile. You need to Google yourself. Why? Why should you Google yourself? Are we stuck? Employers want to know what your presence is and if you even care about your own presence on social media. And Google does several things. Search engine optimization. But one of the things that they do is they look at the authenticity of the websites or the locations that you are playing in or the things that are going on. And in the top 5 of Google's authenticity of websites or locations, you're going to find LinkedIn. So when you Google yourself, if you've built a profile, and you may say, I didn't make it public. That's probably one mistake, all right? But if you've built your profile, you should find yourself in the top 5. And I've had several people say to me, but no, my name is Paul Smith, and you know how many Paul Smiths there are in the world? That sort of thing. And I said, yes. So did you put yourself as Marriott School, Paul Smith? Have you added something in there that will then bring you to the top of all the Paul Smiths that are out there? So you need to look at your Google. You need to make any adjustments. You need to follow that. And LinkedIn is one of your keys. These are the 3 questions that employers need to know about you. They need to know if they like you. They need to know if you fit in their organization. They need to know if you can do the job. The resume that you all do, how many of you love your resume? Oh, just a few. Okay. How many of you feel that the resume is stale, static, doesn't allow you to say what you want to say? There's a few of you that want to do that. All right? 50 to 60% of the equation of whether or not I'm going to hire you is associated to your resume. Because in your resume, I get to know whether or not you've got the substance to play in my sandbox, to do the things that I need you to do. The other 40% of the equation is in that, do I like you? And are you motivated? And we always talk about the resume getting you the date, allowing you to go in for the interview, and the interview itself being the date. What are they looking for when they're at the date? Those are the things that they're trying to find out. You get to give them the preview through your LinkedIn of whether or not they like you and whether or not you fit. And that is why they come after you. So what percent of recruiters are actually on or using? What is their particular social media platform that they use when they come after you? It's LinkedIn. And you can see the number in the middle. There's a few that use all 3. So one of our most important things is to help you build your presence. and make sure that you have your LinkedIn profile to where it needs to be. So we've got top 8 points. You received a handout. On the back, it's got assignments as well. We're going to get into all of this. But I want you to understand, this is how you brand yourself. This is how you brand your difference and who you are. We're going to give you some examples. We're going to talk to that. And then I want to put in a spot for next Thursday. This Thursday, we're talking about your profiles, how to make yourself attractive. Next Thursday, we're going to talk about how you go out and connect, how you follow, and how you're found using your LinkedIn. So we'll be doing the job searching and those sorts of things next Thursday. But we want to make sure that your profile is one of those that everybody can look at. So those are the 8 points. It's on the back of the flyer or the handout that you have. And we're going to go through each one. The photo. It's the first thing that gets looked at. It's the first thing everybody seems to like about LinkedIn. They love it about Facebook, and they love it about LinkedIn. If you don't have a photo, what do you think your profile looks like? Everybody knows, right? It's just a silhouette, a little person sitting there, and that sort of thing. Okay. Your photo needs to be professional. It needs to be well done. It needs to represent you. It needs to represent the Marriott School of Management. Okay? It needs to represent what you want to become and who you want to be. And you're saying, well, wait a minute, I'm in marketing, I'm in business, I'm in finance, okay, I'm in information systems, I'm this or that. Don't they all have a different culture and a different feel about them? When you talk about professional dress, look at what your major or your culture or your industry is asking you to wear when it's professional dress. Okay, and you may say, no, I want to be a difference maker. I want to have that kind of out there photo that grabs everybody's attention and does all those things. It's for the same reason that you don't do that kind of stuff on Facebook, you definitely do not do it on LinkedIn. That photo is there. How much time does a recruiter spend on your LinkedIn profile? And when you talk about resumes, they spend 30 seconds looking at that resume. They do a very quick review of what's there. How long do they spend on your profile? Depends on what they see. Okay. The first thing they look at is the photo. And they will spend more time on the photo. They will spend approximately 90 seconds if they like what they see right here at the beginning. If they don't see a picture, they don't believe that you know the game. They don't believe that you understand what you're doing. Now, there are some people who say, no, I never want to have a photo up there because then they'll discriminate against me. Again, professional dress, know your industry, and know what you're doing. But the bottom line is, if you look at Catherine, okay, then you look at her profile and what she said, those sorts of things, that's what they look at. They look at the photo, then they're going to look at who you are, what you've said, and they're going to talk about this summary a little bit. And that's the big difference between a resume and what you see on LinkedIn is that summary. And we're going to get into it a little bit more. But on a resume, you never use the word I. And on your summary, you do. And it kind of makes you a real person. For a lot of people, that's what they feel about the resume is, I'm not a real person because I can't say I on the resume. But you can in LinkedIn. Okay, there's another photo. Another individual and his presence and his profile. We'll see if we can get some others. Okay, headline. How many of you know what the headline is? What it's supposed to be? Okay, so if we go back here, Dylan's headline is Java developer, agile proficiento. All right. Make yours a superstar headline. It has to grab attention. It's also one of the things when they do a Google search or when a recruiter does a LinkedIn search or a review, they use keywords. It's no different than a resume. They're looking at keywords and they're looking for how you brand yourself and how you see yourself. And so part of your superstar headline should include where you want to land, who you see yourself to be, and where you think you're going. With that, there's mine, and it says the word director in it. Because the word director is there, I get several emails from LinkedIn from companies saying, you could be a director for our company. You could do other sorts of things. So there's elements associated with your headline that make a difference. Here's Ashley. She's listed as an MBA candidate at Brigham Young University. Notice on all of these, I think most of you have already, where it says previous and how previous gets used, where they had their internships, where they'd worked, those elements. Because that's what we need you to do next. I want you to look at your education and how you've got it on your LinkedIn profile and include Marriott School of Management. And in some way, work in difference maker. Now, if it's in your headline, that's great. If it's in your summary, that's great as well. But somewhere, somehow, if we are going to do what we're asked to do, you will be a difference maker when you leave Brigham Young University. One of the very first slides talked about the fact that you're 9% of this campus. You're the leading 9% in terms of brand management. You are leading in terms of rankings and many other things that associate to BYU. They look at the business school, they look at Marriott School of Management. So always think of the areas and the ways that you can be the difference maker. When the dean presented, I don't know that he said it here, but he told us that one of the things he's looking to do is to challenge the employers to ask you a question in your interview. And that question is, how have you made a difference? Where have you made a difference? And they can choose anything off your resume, and that's what he is looking as a potential to challenge recruiters to look at BYU for that purpose, in particular look at the Marriott School for that reason. Okay. So, how many times did the dean put the Marriott School into his profile? Not too hard to count. Would you get tired of reading it? How many of you understand what this means about the LinkedIn URL? Okay, on your profile, here we have Matt Bunker, who works from the MBA office. But down at the very bottom, it says www.linkedin and so on. When you go into LinkedIn, LinkedIn gives you a free account. Well, yes. But they also give you a public URL so that Google can find you, so that they can find you, so that everything else can happen. And every one of you gets that. And when you first get it, it's got a whole bunch of letters in it and a whole bunch of numbers in it, and that sort of thing. And when we talk about getting hold of your LinkedIn URL and making it professional, what you've got to do is go in, and it allows you to edit it. And then you're able to do what Matt Bunker did. He just made it his name instead of all those letters and those numbers. Now, when Google does a search, it doesn't worry so much about finding all those letters and numbers. But this also tells an employer that, again, you've got your head wrapped around the game, you manage your own brand, who you are, and what's important to you. And so it makes LinkedIn important on that end. We'll talk about any changes and those things after the presentation. Okay, fair enough. Contact information. You want to make it easy for people to connect with you. That's that public URL, that first URL. But then also look what Matt Bunker did. Because of his role and where he fits with all the MBAs and what they do in the social media, he went ahead and put his email address and his phone number up there in the headline or in the tagline. That gives it right up front. People don't have to go anywhere else to find it. But when you look on the profile down there in the bottom corner, it says contact info. Once you've fixed your public URL, you should also go to contact info, and you should add all these other areas that you want to be contacted. So you can see here that Kent Dodds, we've opened up his contact info, and he's got an email, he's got some other information that he wants people to know, and he's got the Twitter and everything else. Add those things appropriately so that when they click on that contact info, they can get to you without having to Google you again or have to look for you in some other way. The contact info, you want to be reached. The professional summary. Perhaps the most neglected part of a LinkedIn profile is the summary. The summary is allowing you to put your me in 30 seconds, your elevator pitch, and to put it there. It's one of the things that LinkedIn will tell you if you want to improve your profile, add a summary and throw that in there. We talked a little bit about it before, but this is Kent Dodds, who you saw earlier. And again, you can see I am. This gives you the chance to dazzle them. This gives you the chance to focus again on what you think you're great at and what you think your value is to them. You are giving them the value add statement in your summary. You are showing them this is the direction that you want to go and the things that you want to accomplish. You can see the different ways in which he says, I'm very interested in, or I can follow these things, or make these things happen. All right? He does one other thing with his summary, which is an element of what we ask you to take a look at. Use specialties. Specialties are your skills, or those things that matter most. Inside your summary, and as a part of your specialties, these are key words. Once again, take a job description of where you want to be. Take a look at profiles of those within the industry of where you want to be. And look at how they present themselves and the key words that they use and the things that they do. Look at your own specialties. This is not the skills section and all the endorsements that you get. This is something that you particularly style yourself and that you put in there. And specialties, again, is another one of those areas that the recruiters look at, in particular, when they're trying to find out if you fit inside their organization or their sandbox. This gives them a direction and understanding of where you're headed and what you think you're going to do. You have to write it in yourself, okay? We're going to talk about specialties later, after the presentation at this point. The skills and knowledge and abilities, the key words that can be found that are critical for that search engine optimization and where it runs. Okay, so go back, you can see it. Wanted to point it out again. And in this case, he's gone ahead and he's embedded something that he worked on. You can add those things. That's almost like a specialty in and of itself. You just have to be careful with the things that you put in there. If you put a blog in there, if you put other sorts of elements that you want people to look at, you have to make sure that they meet your brand and they say the message and they detail the things that you want them to detail. Okay, and then the last area is interests. Now, we've skipped over a bunch of other things that you can have on your profile. But the interests area is rather unique because we have a lot of people who want to know whether or not you like golf, who want to know how you get along with other people. They want to know that you have a life other than school. And they want to know that there are other things that you can do. If you'll notice on Catherine, in her previous, she's got the word golf, right? Golf Association. And she was tied to them and a part of that. In most cases, you're going to have, under additional information, a category called interests. And in that category, you go ahead and you write out your interests and what you want to do. This is also from Catherine's profile and where it goes. I don't know how many of you play guitar or do any of those other things. Okay, those are the 8 ways right now that you can change your LinkedIn profile and you can make it pop. You can give it a little extra so that the recruiters will be able to find it and what they need to do. But you need to have that brand and that image of who you are, and it needs to be right there where everybody can see it, because you need to join groups. And this may have been talked to you before, but why would you want to join any groups? When you have a free account with LinkedIn, they're always asking you to buy a premium account. They're always asking you to go up one level. And when they do that, they want you to pay a monthly fee. You do not need to go beyond a free account. But you can if you feel that you need to. And we can talk about that later. But for right now, understand that with a free account, you can get to most of what you need. But if you really want to get to more, then you join groups. Inside groups, what are you going to find? You're going to find people that you are not connected to. They're not part of your 3 rings, but they're part of a group that you're associated with, and you can go in and look at their profiles, and then you can ask to connect with them and become a part of your network and do the different things that you go on. Tells LinkedIn that you exist, okay? Once again, it says that you're a player. And then you are tied to that particular professional organization or that particular group. We're going to talk next time about how you do these connections, or how you make your network grow. It starts that process. So some of the groups that you can join right away, this is mine. It just shows you an example of things that you can join. But these are groups that you are already welcome to join and be a part of. Okay, so on your sheet, we asked you to do an assignment. Once again, the big deal is you're in the middle of midterms. It's homecoming weekend. Every one of you have something else running through your head and in your mind for what goes on. But yes, those are the things we'd like you to do so that you're ready next week, next Thursday when we come to talk. And why are we going to talk? Almost 80% of the users do what with LinkedIn? They use it to research and make connections. And that's what we're going to talk about when we get together next Thursday. Just want to challenge you to remember, you're in the Marriott School. Be a difference maker. Add that into your LinkedIn profile. Think through the process of what you want and what you want to gather out of your LinkedIn profile. Okay? I'm going to wrap this up and let it go, and then we're going to turn off the video. We've got Andrew, I don't know if you're back in the back. He said he wanted to talk about an internship, an opportunity that he wanted everyone to hear about. We told him we would allow for that to happen. I know a few of you raised your hands and said, how can we do that, or what more, or they wanted to clarify a particular point. I'd like you to come down afterwards, because I don't want to take everybody else's time. I want you to go out, handle the assignments. Some of you are ahead of the assignments. That's great. but we're happy to be involved. That's it. Whoop. Andrew. Okay, is Andrew here now? Okay, if he's not, then we'll have him